Okay, we are talking about percentage change, right? So the very first thing I want to tell you is we're going to use percentage change a lot in the real world. Good examples, you got some money in the bank and you will get an interest on that. That is percentage change on your money. Or if you've got a loan, then you will have a percentage change on how much you owe the bank. Okay? Very first thing we've got to be able to do is convert percentages into decimals. So 50%. Percent literally means per 100, so that is 50 over 100. When you divide by 100, you just move the decimal place 2 points. Now the decimal place would be there because it's 50.000000 forever. So that's where the decimal place is, 1, 2. So it is 0.5. We can do the same for 25%. And that will be 25 over 100. And again, we're going to move the decimal place 2 steps back. And that will be 0.25. We can do it for big percentages, things bigger than 100%. 120%. And that is 120 over 100. And when we move that 2 steps back, we get 1.2. We can also do it for small things. So if I had 0.7%, that would be 0.7 over 100. Doesn't look very nice, but we take a decimal point, we move it 1, 2. So that will be, as a decimal, 0.007. Okay, it's important to get this right, and I have some practice questions in one of my other videos. So now we're going to have to calculate percentages of numbers. Now, the easiest way we can do this is by changing them into a decimal first, which is why we did that trick before. So, if I want to work out 30% of 900, I do 0.3 times 900, and that equals 270. So 30% of 900 means we change this into a decimal and we times it by the number we had before, 270. I could also have 125% of 400. Okay, 125%. Let's change that into a decimal. 1.25 times 400, and that would equal 500. Okay, that's that. It's also important that we can calculate a number as a percentage of another number. So what is 40 as a percentage of 800? Okay, this is a fairly simple example. What we do is you do the 40 over 800. We can divide top and bottom by 10. We can then divide top and bottom by 40 and by 4, sorry, and that will give us 1 over 20. Our aim is to turn this into a decimal, because from a decimal we can change it back into a percentage. In this case, actually, we can see that if we times top and bottom of this by 5, we get it something over 100. So that equals 5 over 100, which equals 5% per 100. So when you are calculating one number as a percentage of the other number, the one that's percentage of goes on the bottom, and the one that you're working out what it is a percentage goes on the top. Okay, so let me do another one. I'm going to do 160 as a percent of 120. Now you'll notice this time the number that I'm doing I'm doing it of is smaller than the other one, but it's still the one we're doing it of, so it still goes on the bottom. So this is going to be over 120, and it's going to be 160 over that. Okay, now there are a few tricks of how we could solve this, but I'm just going to cancel it down. We ditch the tens, divide top and bottom by 10. We can divide top and bottom by 4, and when we do so, we will get 4 thirds, which I know is 1 and 1/3. Now I've changed it into a fraction. I can change it into a decimal from there. 1.3 recurring, and to go from a decimal to a percentage, you just move the decimal point 2 to the right. So 1, 2. So this will equal 133.3 recurring percent. And as you'd expect, it's a percentage that's bigger than 100 because the number was bigger on top than the bottom. Okay, that is the end of percentages of numbers. We're now going to move on to calculating simple interest. So, simple interest. Simple interest, as the name suggests, is the simplest way that we could make interest on something. So, be that interest on a loan, so you have to owe more money, or be that interest on money you have saved. So, banks actually don't use simple interest normally. They use something called compound interest, but we'll deal with that later. So, imagine that I've got £3,000 in a bank, okay, and I've got 10% interest. Right, so, and I want to find out how much should I make after 1 year. Well, 10% is 0.1. So we have 0.1 times 3,000. That equals £300. And there we go. That's how much I'd make after 1 year. How about instead if I asked about 7 years? Now we could just times the number we've worked out there by 7. However, I want to be able to do this as if we hadn't been asked this question, if this question was the first question asked. So we know how much we get after 1 year, right? It's 10% interest every year. So we're just going to get 7 times that interest. So we just do 7 times 0.1, or you could have written 0.7 instead of the 7 times 0.1, and we times that by 3,000. Okay, and that makes 2,100. And that is how much we make after 7 years. So now we need to know how to increase and decrease by a percentage. So in this example we did before, where we had, after 1 year, we had a 10% increase. The question could have asked us, how much money in total do we have, including that 3,000? So what we'd want to do is we want to increase 3,000 by 10%. Now, you could now just go, right, well, I'll work out 10% of it. We did that earlier. And I'm going to add it to the original. And that will work. But there is another method that I really want you to learn, because it's going to make your life later on much, much easier. Okay? So, if we're going to increase by 10%, we're going to have our original and 10% more. We're then going to have 100, our original, plus 10, 110%. So we change 110% into decimals, right? And now we're going to do 3,000, right? Increase by 10% times 1.1. And that gives us 3,000 300. Okay, which is what we were saying it should equal anyway. Right? Now, this may not seem like it was an easier method, but trust me when I say there are tricks we're going to do. In fact, we're about to do one in step 5, where this becomes nicer, much nicer than what you would have had to do otherwise. So I'm going to do a couple more examples. So we might have had a 15% increase, so an increase of 15%, and we're going to be doing that on £400. And it doesn't have to be pounds, so actually I might be like, I don't know, 400 kilometres. And I tell you that I drive 400 kilometres to work, and my new job is 15% further. I think I'm probably living too far from work if I'm driving 400 kilometres to work. So 15% increase, so we do 100% plus 15, 1.15, yeah, 115% equals 1.15, so we do 1.15 times by 400, and that gives us 460 kilometers. Okay, that was percentage increases. I'll come over here quickly because I want to do percentage decrease. Okay, so we might have had no, I don't want blue. We might have a, I don't know, a dress on sale. Still don't want blue. So we have a dress was £30, right? Now 20% off. Okay, and I want to know how much it now costs. So 20% off means we have 20% less than the whole price, 20% less than 100. So 100 minus 20 means we've now got 80% of the original price. 80% equals 0.8. So we're going to do 0.8 times 30. Okay, and that equals £24. So that was the worst pound sign I've ever done. That is exactly the same concept as the increase, except rather than adding it to 100%, we take it from 100%. Okay, so now we're going to deal with finding the original value after having a percentage change. And actually, I'm going to add another section on after this. So, if we had 600 after we had a 50% increase. Okay, we want to find out how much we had before. Okay, now the tempting thing to do is to just do a 50% decrease, right? But I'm going to show you why that doesn't work. A 50% decrease on 600 would give you 300. And I've given easy numbers here so we can see it quite simply. Because of 400, if we had 400 and we were to increase that by 50%, half of 400 is 200. 400 plus 200 is 600. So we can see that our answer should be 400, right? So what we've got is we've got original right? We times it by our change, and that equals new. So, what do we have in our situation? We know what our new price is, and we know what our change is. It was a 50% increase, right? And a 50% increase is 150%, which is 1.5 when you change to decimals. So we want the original, we need to do new divided by change. So the original equals new over change, which equals 600 divided by 1.5, that was 150%, and that equals 400, as we expected. And that's really important that we do it that way round, and I would strongly suggest trying to remember this, because if you use this every time, you will find your life get a lot easier. So now we're going to deal with something a little bit harder. Okay, we're going to deal with having we have a motorbike. It now costs, so the bike costs £952 after a 12% increase. Okay, so again we're looking for the original, and original equals new over change, so the original equals the new price, 952 over the change. Now it was a 12% increase. 12% increase is 112%, which is 1.12. So you divide 952 by 1.12, and that gives us 850 as our original. Okay. Now this would also work if instead of having an increase, we had a decrease in one of these. Right? So the next step that I want to talk to you about is still using this formula. So far, we started off having original and change to work out new. Now we've done new and change to work out original. So the final step is, if I have my new price and my original price, I want to find my change in price. So we're going to be using the change, rearranging that formula, equals the new price divided by the old price. Okay, so if I had a game and its original price was £40, so the game was £40 and it's now £32. Okay, and I want to know what was the discount. Right, you can see there's a discount because it's gone down. So my change equals the new price, 32, divided by the old price, 40. When you do that, you get 0.8. So now we have to work out how we're going to use that 0.8 to get a percentage change. Well, 0.8 equals 80%. So it's worth 80% of what it was worth. So compared to 100%, that is 20% loss. So another way of doing that would be we could do our 80 minus 100, and that is minus 20%, or it's a 20% reduction. Okay. And another example of this would be, we have a expensive car, and it was, so the car was £25,000, and it's now 28,250. So this is the old price, this is the new price. So change equals new price over old price, and that equals 1.13, which is 113%. Now, you could see this is 13% more, so it's a 13% increase, or you could do 113 minus 100. Notice we've just taken 100 away, so it's the same trick each time, which equals 13, positive 13 this time. So another way of writing it is it is a 13% increase. And there we go. That's the end of this tutorial. I hope that all made sense to you.